Hey guys, this is Benita. Welcome to Real Life. This is just a comedy skit. I have had my clients rolling over the last few weeks because I was traumatized by a 6-year-old. So I pretty pretty much was telling everybody what I was experiencing with her. I didn't really know that she was 6 until later on, because as she was in my chair, she was getting older and older and older as the hours went on. And she actually was a client for twists. So I did like design twists in the front and little individual twists in the back. And she actually turned out to have an adorable hairstyle, but oh my god, by the time I finished, I was like, I don't drink too often, but this will be one of those days that I might need a drink. So yeah, and every client that came through that day, that was on the top of my list. I was needing to vet. So let me tell you about this little girl. So I had to pick her up from her relative's office. She's actually was visiting in town, and I picked her up to get her hair done. Her relative wanted to kind of surprise the family and have something cute done to the little girl's hair. So I'm thinking, no problem, pick her up, no problem. And she was like, now if you have any problems with her, just give me a call. I'm thinking, this little girl, I won't have any problems with her whatsoever. And then I realized I was wrong, but I didn't want to disturb the relative, and the sooner I could get the little girl out, the better. So in a nutshell, I did have another client that came in for a consultation, and I had to kind of go back and forth, but I did wash my hands in between because I, want to keep everything sanitized, not spread anything. Just universal precautions. So, but anyway, I was, went back and forth, but the other client was noticing what I was doing with the little girl's hair and wanted to make small talk. So part of the small talk was, she loved the braids and the twisting and watching me doing this, and I had actually did like a little leave-in temporary rinse with her just to see, with the other client that was getting the consultation, just to see how the rinse would dry as a leave-in with her hair. So she just needed a few minutes to let that kind of settle in. So I went back to braiding or twisting the little girl's hair. And so the client decided, to make some small talk and like, hello, I love the whole technique of twisting and braiding, and she's such a cute little girl. And she was like, well, how old are you? And this little girl says, lady, you're a stranger. What you doing talking to me? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I am so sorry. I just told the lady I was so sorry. I'm used to handling adults, but children, because I'm not a parent, I am not used to children. So I'm like, oh my God. I could not believe she talked to this lady that way. And one of the times I went to look at the lady's hair, she ends up getting out of the chair. I had the other lady in one chair, and she was sitting in my main styling chair, and she gets out of the chair. She asked me to hold out my hand, and then she proceeds to give me waterless hand sanitizer. And I was like, again, I'm telling like, I am so sorry, because I am like so embarrassed at this point. This little girl is just too much. So, finally, the other client, she understood, she respected the situation. And the little girl, I got back to working on her hair. What I was doing is putting a plastic cap, a processing cap, on the back of her head to keep the moisture into her hair while I was doing the designs in the front. Those of you who know about, little kids and African American hair, I was doing little designs in the front. So, the little girl kept saying, well, this bag is wet. So I was like, I'm trying to keep your moisture in until I get to the back of your head. So while I was helping the other client, she proceeded to also take the plastic cap off. So by the time I got back to her, I had booked the other client for another service and got back to her. I was like, I cannot believe this child has taken this cap off. So I just said, forget it. So I had pretty much was almost finished the front. I had finished up the front. Started working on the back, and I have a cute little spray bottle, so I was spraying each section in the back as I was working with it. And then she goes, lady, why you keep spraying me? I'm like, well, you did take your cap off. So, I'm trying to explain this to her. And then she said, well, why didn't you just wet it from the beginning? And I was like, well, remember you were in the shampoo bowl, and I told you to keep the cap on so that, it would stay wet. And so I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, do I pinch her, shake her, beat her with a belt, or beat her with a switch? I was just like, so I was like, this hair service cannot be done quick enough. So we worked through it. We definitely worked through it, but it was a lot. It was just, she had her little iPad. And I was like, oh, is that an iPad? And she just showed me the apple on the back of it. So, like, obviously, that's an iPad. So, she also, I told her that she was going to look fabulous. And I pronounced it fabulous. And I know how to spell it, but apparently I have been saying it wrong for quite some time, and she very surely just corrected me. So she was like, lady, that's not how you say that word. It is fabulous, not fabulous. So now say it 10 times. 1, 2, 3. So to entertain her, I learned how to pronounce fabulous. And one of the times I slipped and said the old way, fabulous. And she was like, you waited to the last one to mess up. Start over. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so I learned how to do fabulous. So that's a good thing, because I'm all about improvement. Even if it's coming from a 6-year-old, I'm all about improvement. So that wasn't too bad. It was very interesting. But needless to say, I was pretty much about done with her hair. And the first lady that came in, I was ready to just give her, because I knew the relative that I picked her up from was not going to be the relative that was going to come get her. And so the first lady that came in, I was just about ready to push her into this lady's hands. And I was like, that's probably not going to be a good idea. So I said, I asked the little girl, do you recognize this lady? She's like, yes, that's my sister. She recognized her. So she took her, and she was like, she wanted some Cheez-Its. And I kindly told her, I said, you know what, you don't deserve any Cheez-Its. Because I had little Cheez-It snackables that, you could take to go. And I said, you don't deserve it, but you can have it anyway. So, it was funny. She was gone, and I had another client that came in, and my other client was only here 15 minutes early and heard everything, and she was like, I have never, well, it's been a long time that she's heard a little girl that was that sassy. And she was like, how long was she here? I said, 3 hours. 3 hours, 3 hours. And so so in a nutshell, both clients that experienced this little girl, the one that uh, got kind of told while you talking to me. She came back and for her appointment, later in the week, and she actually said, "How did you make out with that little girl?" And I said, "We made it through." She said she had to tell her husband about this little girl. This little girl made such an impact. She had to tell her husband about it. And then the other client that came back a few weeks later was like asking the same thing. So she was definitely a little girl from, she skipped age 16 and went straight to 26. But it was an experience to remember. And the even funnier thing is, I didn't charge a lot, but I charged a comfortable amount. And one of the other ladies, I guess from the office, liked the work that I did, and so she called, and I was about on pins and needles when I saw the name of the office come up, because I was like, oh my God, I do not want to do this little girl's hair again. Not that the hair was hard, I just did, my nerves were really, really bad. So I answered the phone. And it turns out it was another employee there that wanted me to do her daughter's hair. And she was like, I have a little girl just the same age. And of course, my first thought was, I'm not available. And I really didn't have time. But yeah, that little girl is about a once a year service, and I still need to probably read a few more parenting books before she comes back. But I really had my clients rolling over this story, and it probably happened about a month ago, and it was, whew, I was stressed. But hopefully you enjoyed it. This is real life, and my name is Benita. Thanks for watching.